Welcome to the Design Insight series, a set of short lessons aimed at helping people use human-centered design to improve products or services. I'm Dr. Brian Rill, design practitioner and instructor. In this episode, I address one of the first questions we need to ask when validating a new product idea. Who are my customers? Or, put in a different way, who are the people that might use our product? So why is this question important? According to Tomer Sharon, author of Validating Product Ideas, getting to know your audience, who they are, what makes them tick, what brings them happiness, frustration, and motivation helps you build a better product, feature, or service. It also prevents your team from going into exhausting debates about different aspects of assumed consumer behavior or what analytics mean. I agree. To answer this question, we use qualitative methods to observe human behaviors and ask why people do what they do. In the last episode, I spoke about the value of ethnography in design. Ethnography is all about discovery, and it's well suited to answer this and other product validation questions. Before I dig into the methods, let's talk about outcomes and deliverables for a moment. The key outcome is insight, specifically being able to design or improve a product or service based upon the understanding of the people who will interact with it. A common deliverable is one or more personas, archetypal characters that represent your target users. Personas can be complemented with other research artifacts like empathy maps, observations from fieldwork, and more. The aim is to ground concept development and design firmly in an understanding of users and their context. So how do we get this information? I'll speak to two methods here: observation and interviews. When time and resources permit, the best thing you can do is immerse yourself in the environment of potential users. Go on a sensing journey for a day, a week, or longer. Try to see from their perspective, live in their shoes, or at least watch carefully to see how people interact with the world around them. You will be surprised how much you can learn through observation. Take as many notes as you can. Take pictures or videos of the context, but make sure you get permission if you are capturing people. The goal is to capture human behaviors and the context of use. I can't tell you how many times I've sat down with a notepad and written volumes just observing a scenario. Your notes may not be all that interesting, but there are hidden gems in them that will emerge later. The way you find these is to build an observation wall and cover it with post-it notes that capture one observation each. Add pictures, magazine clippings, printouts of social media posts, anything that tells you something about your users' behaviors. At a certain point, usually when you run out of time and money, you stop adding and start sorting. One process called Affinity Mapping is great here. Working with your whole team, dedicate a half day to sorting and rearranging your observations. Look for themes, patterns, or anything else that allows you to form clusters. Once that's finished, step back and absorb the fruit of your labor. You should, at this point, have a much better understanding than you started with. You will have insights, but also many questions. To answer those, you need to interview people. Interviews are a natural complement to observation. They help us dig into our observations to uncover more detail, as well as ask why someone does this or that. Given that we can't observe the inner mental state of others, we must ask them to reveal the otherwise hidden world of motivations and justifications. Interviewing technique is a subject complex enough to merit a separate video. Stay tuned for that. So here I'll try to keep it simple. Just talk to people. Ask open-ended questions, which are questions that don't guide your interviewee to a specific answer. Instead, open-ended questions allow the dialogue to go wherever the interviewee takes it. The basic idea is that you are probing into an area of their life without trying to control how they answer. If you come into an interview with preconceived ideas, being open-ended may be difficult. You may feel it necessary to preface a question with your ideas. Don't. There is a time for that, but not on your first inquiries. If you do pose such leading questions, you'll often find that you get the answers you expected. This is a clear sign of biased interviews, and the data you're going to get is garbage. All you are doing by leading your interviewee is validating your ideas, which is called confirmation bias. A good interview is also a process of discovery. And if you keep an open mind and good notes, you'll be surprised at the quality and depth of information you get. As with observations, it is a lot of data to track and sort. There are several great tools now that make this easier, but let's start with the basics: a notepad. In contextual inquiries, we often interview people in their natural settings, and in such moments, it's obtrusive to pull out an audio or video recorder. Train and use your memory. One of my old tricks was to excuse myself to go to the restroom, and then I would rapidly scribble down notes. I wrote down as much detail as I could, having faith that later in analysis, insights would emerge. They always do. These days, you can also use your smartphone, and you can capture notes and voice memos right on it. Whatever works is fine, as long as you are capturing as accurately as you can. A tip here: when interviewing in the field, make sure your notes discuss the context. The whole point of contextual inquiries is to explore user behavior in natural settings. And if you focus only on what is said, you will miss a lot and kick yourself for it later. Interviews independent of context are also valuable, and these can be conducted face-to-face or online with the many video conferencing tools that we have available. These interviews explore problems, needs, behaviors, and motivations that you've either previously observed or learned about through secondary research, reading the works of others, studying the competition, and other efforts that don't involve studying people directly. To extract insights from interviews, you need some form of qualitative data analysis, or QDA for short. Here is where experience and software make a big difference in outcomes. The most basic form of analysis is to create a spreadsheet, taking notes in it as you review the interview later. If you record the interview, you can use transcription services that will save you many, many hours of tedious work. They are worth every penny. These days, machine learning transcription is provided in QDA software. I use Dovetail, but EnjoyHQ, Condense are two other good, relatively easy platforms for analysis. In an ideal world, the next step is to create a codebook and tag interview recordings. As with observations, at first you take note of everything, using themes from your observations as a starting point to create codes. An example of a code might be FR, for frustrated users, and you tag the portion of transcript or notes where you observed or heard this from someone. Over time, you refine your analysis and can begin to sort your tagged notes into themes and patterns. Sound familiar? It should. And the intersections between your observations of user behavior and the why behind them should start to become clear. Congratulations, you're almost there. Before I wrap up, let me address the common question of how many interviews are enough? The answer is, it depends. When I do discovery research to understand users, I set a minimum of 5 interviews per user group, which is a type of user that will eventually become a persona. So if we imagine 3 audience segments, I need at least 15 interviews. Each can last 30 to 60 minutes or more, so make sure you plan resources accordingly. When given freedom and budget, I like to interview users that represent different stakeholder positions for as long as I'm learning new things. My rule of thumb is to stop once the point of redundancy has been reached, when the same patterns appear over and over again. In a recent project, it took 25 interviews combined with 6 months of secondary research to fully understand the problem space around the issue that we were exploring. That was a lot of work and investment, but now we have something priceless: a robust understanding and a unique concept, which translates into confidence moving forward. How much is that worth to you and your team? In this episode of the Design Insight series, I've given my perspective on how to answer a critical product validation question: who are my users? Observation and interviews are 2 foundational methods, and you can take the insights gained to create personas, empathy maps, and other artifacts that anchor your design process in real people. These same methods help us address the most important question in human-centered design: what are my users' needs? I'll tackle that question in the next episode, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching. If you like the Design Insight series, please click on the subscribe button below. You can learn more about my work and the services I offer at www.insightsdesign.org. And if you need help with new product development or improving user experience, please contact me.